Lady Gaga. Well, actually, I didn't really start in the dance scene. I started more in the dive bar scene, which is really a lot of nerdy record collecting DJs. And I started go-go dancing and giving my records to the DJs in those bars. And then as I became more well-known, it started to spread into the dance scene. And it's really, it's sick. I mean, it's club kids. There's still like a real scene down there. People have personas. The nightclubs feel like a culture. The music is underground, but it's also mainstream. I mean, it's a really cool environment. Well, and I almost feel like those are two different questions. I feel like I have always been an artist, and that I became more of an artist once I started to play out all the time downtown. But it really wasn't until I got signed to Interscope and until I got a tiny bit famous in New York that I really became more of a dance scene artist and out in the clubs than before. So I would have to say, like, right around the time when I got signed, I almost got arrested in Chicago for wearing short shorts. I was in W Magazine, cover of Women's Wear Daily. So really when I started being myself, I mean, I've always been an artist, but when I started to be just who I really am, which is a provocative exhibitionist, somebody that does things for attention pretty shamelessly, that's when I was like, okay, so just be who you are, and then that's your artistry. Well, I'm a New York Italian. My father used to play Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, Beatles, Billy Joel, Elton John records all the time, and he used to we had a record player in the living room, and he used to like pick me up when I was a kid, and he would like twirl me around. And I mean, I had a really amazing childhood, a lot of culture, a lot of meatballs, a lot of marinara, you know? So music was a big part of my family. I mean, even like, you know, listening to Andrea Bocelli over dinner, Frank Sinatra. Theater became a huge part of my life, a lot of because of that. I mean, I used to listen to the Sinatra duets like on repeat with my father all the time. And then my mother made me play piano when I was 4. It was kind of a discipline thing, and she used to say, you don't have to practice, but you got to sit there for an hour every day. You can either play or you can just sit there. And probably for the first couple of years, it was like, you know, I used to sit at the piano and like I'd start banging, and I was a really bad kid. And then I got bored just sitting there, so I started to play, and then I got really, really great at classical piano. So when I was 4, I started taking piano lessons, and I really hated it at first. I mean, I enjoyed playing, but I wanted to play by ear, mostly because it was faster for me. I could just like listen to something and just start playing it. Whereas reading music was more disciplined. I had to like, you know, learn the notes. And so I hated practicing, but my mom used to say like, don't move. Like, you sit there for an hour, you can either like practice your scales or you can do nothing. So I used to be, you know, a real asshole and sit there and like start banging, or I would just like, you know, do that. And eventually I got bored, so I just started to play, and I got really, really good. And I got really good very fast. And that's how I am. If I'm not very good at something right away, I don't want to do it. There I go with my finger. Oh my God. What does that not mean to me? It's everything. It's who I am. It's culture, it's family, it's my heritage, it's my fashion sense. You know, I'm inspired by the street, but I'm also like obsessed with the gangster mob princess and the you know, in Scarface, and I mean that's not Italian, but you know what I'm saying. The casinos and the gaudiness, and it all really plays into the concept of my album, The Fame, because for me, Italians and that sort of gaudy culture is a way of self-proclaiming your own fame without, you know, $8 million. Well, I was gonna go to, was it Juilliard or Manhattan School? I think it was Juilliard. I was really interested in going there for this like weekend pre-college program, and I actually got like really nervous before my audition and decided to go to acting school, which actually ended up being better because so much of what I do now is persona related, and Lady Gaga, me, it became who I am now, but it was like it was a self-discovery that really was found through acting and sense memory and figuring out, I mean, like things like, you know, certain positions and dance moves that I would do would resonate more with me than others. Like I suck at ballet, but I was excellent at jazz and theater. The artists that for me have been the most influential, I mean, like Madonna, David Bowie. I mean, of course I love them for their music, and not to sound vain or shallow, but I'm almost more appreciative of their work because of their visuals. I mean, it completely changes the way that you listen to the music. I moved to the Lower East Side when I was, well, 18, I moved to East Village, and then Lower East Side when I was 19. And, you know, everybody dressed different, everybody talked different, everybody's swagger was different, and I'm somebody that likes to experiment with different things, so I bought a lot of leather and a lot of sequins, and I started making, I was go-go dancing for fun, so I started making my costumes because it was cheaper and also fun. And it's a really big influence on the music because I sing about the lifestyle. I'm not making underground music, I'm making pop records about an underground lifestyle. That's the difference. No, it's not. It was definitely the Lower East Side. There's like a little bit of a metal glam scene, and I started to sort of take, you know, elements from that I liked. The rock star's girlfriend. That was the real beginning of my fashion. It was not so much I want to be the greatest rock and roll band that ever lived. I wanted to be the greatest rock and roll band that ever lived, lead singer's girlfriend. That's what I wanted to. I wanted to be the girl backstage at the Motley Crue concert in the feather dress doing Nikki Sixx's eyeliner. You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of different. But I'm also obsessed with Versace, Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, Fendi, Valentino. I mean, like delicious fabrics and cuts and silhouettes and the way that you can change the way a woman's body looks, the voodoo. I mean, that stuff is my life. So it's, how do you make $5 look like $5 grand? How do you feel like $5 grand when you've got $5 in your pocket? And I'm not like, I wasn't a poor kid, but I said, Daddy, I want to be a rock star. He said, go be a rock star, you know? So I figured it out. And in downtown New York, and really in New York everywhere, really in the world, you have the ability to self-proclaim your own fame. You have the ability to experience and feel a certain amount of self-worth that comes from a very vain place by simply like your choices, your opinions about fashion, your opinions about music, your opinions about politics, the way that you walk down the street, the way that you carry yourself at parties. I mean, you can literally choose to have fame. And that's what this whole album is about. And I really, honestly do not care a tiny bit what people think about it, because I'm not posturing that it's good or that it's bad. I'm struggling with the idea, and it's affected my life in the most positive way. I mean, if anyone said, who is Lady Gaga, I would be okay with, she is the most impressive con artist of fame. I mean, I literally trick people every day into believing that I'm somebody, and I'm not. I mean, look at Paris Hilton, right? She's like, I mean, I love her, and I'll tell you why I love her. Because she is a rich girl who's done nothing, but everybody in the world knows this chick's name. How did she do it? She chose it. She took it. It's like, I mean, there's all of these socialites, the underground, but I'm using an example like that because it's something that everybody can relate to. They know who she is. For me, it was going out downtown and realizing that there was a social class, a small one. I mean, there was literally like the top tier of Rivington Street, and I'm like, who are these kids? Who the hell do they think they are? But that's exactly it. It's the nerve. All you gotta have is nerve. That's the one thing that keeps me up at night. I say to myself, who the hell am I to do what I do? Why do I deserve this? Who am I to do this? And then I remember that I'm talented. And then I remember that I'm actually very good at what I do. I'm extremely educated, but that's not something that I'm not like one to like be defensive about my work. It is what it is. You either love it or you don't. Most people like it. But yeah, I mean, it's about taking pop culture and taking the media and using it in a positive way. Look at Perez Hilton, for example. You know, he completely grabbed fame by the vocal cords and choked the world using fame, using people's obsession with the celebrity. I mean, why? Who really cares, right? Why do we care so much? Okay. Well, I started playing piano when I was 4, around, about, I'd say 12. I was in a boutique in New York, and I was singing a Backstreet Boys record. I forgot, I think it was I Want It That Way. I think that was it. So I was singing this Backstreet Boys record, and the guy that worked in the store, Evan, I still remember his name, I haven't seen him in 800 years. He goes, "Are you a singer?" And I said, "No, I was like," and I'm 12 years old, like, what am I doing in a boutique after school? It was just kind of one of those really random moments. And he said, "Well, you've got a really great voice. I think, maybe you should call my uncle. My uncle, he teaches voice." His uncle was Don Lawrence. And anybody in the business who knows about music teachers knows that Don Lawrence is by far the best teacher in the world. So he had, no room between Mick Jagger, Bono, Christina Aguilera, you name it, he gave them a voice. Or at least, he was, working with them on their tour. So anyway, I started working with him. He was my mentor. He's still my mentor till today. He encouraged me to start writing music. So around 13, I started writing records, stuff on the piano in my house. So I moved from classical to pop. And I started noticing that, okay, well, the Bach chords are the same as the chords for this Mariah Carey record, right? So I just started like picking up on little things, doing small chord progressions. Then I started doing coffee houses. I put together a coffee house at my high school just because I wanted a place to play. I would sneak out and go to the bitter end. I would, go downtown to McDougal Street with the seniors from Regis High School just to experience the, music nightlife in New York. Then I was in a cover band when I was 16. I would do, Zeppelin records, Jefferson Airplane, U2. And then I went to NYU for 1 year. Keep in mind, during all of this, I'm doing musicals, I'm in bands, I'm writing records, if you were my family, you did not see me for 5 years. I was out doing everything. And then I went to college for a year, and I hated it. Not the studying. I was a good student. I love to learn, but I wanted to work, and I wanted to make music. So I was in the Tisch program. I dropped out. I told my parents I'm leaving. I'm going to get an apartment and 8 jobs. And they were like, have a good time, kid. And they were really supportive, you know, and I really went for it. My dad gave me a year to get signed, and I did. So then I got dropped, then I got signed again. And in between the 2 record deals, I put together a variety show with me and a DJ, Lady Starlight. She was a go-go dancer. She got me into go-go dancing. I thought she looked so amazing on stage, so I just said I have to start. And it's really been a long, long journey. I don't remember not doing this. It's just always been my life. But I don't know. It's funny, people say to me, where do you want to be in 5 years? Or what are your goals? My goal is to be right here. It's like this moment, what we're doing right this second, it's to have a career. It's to be working in music, making music. I love writing for other artists. I love working with new producers. It's just endless, and I want to inspire people. The record's called The Fame, but it could be called like The Inspiration, to be like cheesy, you know? I mean, it's really me like wanting to inspire the world with an idea. It's an idea. I happen to be great at music. I'm better with ideas. Well, they're all different. Beautiful, Dirty, Rich, I wrote in my panties, dancing around to a track in my bedroom. You know, that's one way that I write. Other ways I write are at the piano. I'll, you know, really stick to the chords, really try to come up with really beautiful progressions. But I find that all of the, you know, quote-unquote hit pop songs, if you will, are when I am, like, doing the dishes, not paying attention, or joking around with my friends. Let's have some fun this beat. I mean, I'll just literally be doing something that's funny, and it becomes a song. I mean, it's really the best way. It's simple, it's catchy, it's hooky, it's peppy, it's snappy, you know, it's quick. And Just Dance, which is my first single, I wrote that song in honestly 10 minutes. Me and the producer, Red One, who I've known before I was signed to Interscope, we did a record long before called Boys, 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 which was the record that really got me noticed. But I was so excited to be in the studio with him in LA. You know, Vincent Herbert, who signed me, got us the record plant. I felt like I was, you know, Madonna in 1985. I was like, oh my God, this is so huge. And they, you know, people were coming and asking me if I wanted something to drink. I was like, I'll get it. You know, it was just ridiculous. So I had this beautiful studio, and it's funny because we took pictures, and Red One and I don't use equipment in the room usually. We will for vocals. We'll use certain compressors and Neves and stuff, but for making the actual music, we just use MacBook Pros. So you see pictures of us in these like absolutely gorgeous, state-of-the-art, amazing, expensive studios, and the two of us are like in a corner at our laptops working. So we sat down, and he went, literally, he's like, oh, Gaginetti. He calls me Gaginetti. He's Swedish. Well, he's Moroccan, lived in Sweden. He's got a crazy accent. And he calls me Gaginetti. And all of a sudden, he says, I had this idea, and I hear, and I admit it, I go, I've had a little bit too much. I went right into it, and Troy, my manager, was there. And I remember being so nervous, because I don't allow anybody to be in the studio while I'm writing, but I couldn't say no, because he's my manager, and I'm like, I can't say no. So he was in there, and I was a little bit nervous, like, oh my God, it's the first time he's seeing me write. But we wrote that record in 2 seconds. Vincent Herbert walked in. He was like, oh my God, that's it. Leah Linden, who I work with too, she's my other manager, she came in and she was like, play that dance one. I want to hear that dance one again. I mean, it was instant. Everybody went crazy. And Akon, you know, who we did the record with too, he's such a down-to-earth guy, and for me, it was like, he's like the most worldly, like, cultured. He's like a hip hop R&B guy. You know, for him to be into my stuff, like a white chick from New York who does like dance music, disco, pop. I was like, I don't know what he's gonna think of this. And when we started working on it, he really was into it. And he was like, that's it. Everybody just knew this is it. This is the one. And the record that took me 10 minutes, you know? Well, my music is pretty much a reflection of my transition from New York uptown to New York downtown and all the things that I've discovered. And it's everything, you know, it's pop, it's a little bit, you know, hip hop R&B, it's got dance elements, it's got electro. I rap sometimes, I sing, you know, I do everything. It's really, it's about my journey. It's really heavily influenced by fashion and lifestyle, and it's new. It's Lady Gaga. It is absolutely 100% a concoction of my love of 70s glamour, 80s synth sounds, dance, club fever, disco. A lot of my melodies have a real 50s Beatles quality. Glamour, filth, rock and roll. It's got, I mean, Boys, Boys, Boys is a metal song trapped in a pop star's body. I mean, I think about everything when I'm writing, but I'm constantly being influenced by different things. I'm like a little sponge. So it's pop. But for me, pop is the new underground. Everybody said goodbye to it for a little bit, and we started to really start bowing down to all of these rising indie acts. But I feel that I don't feel that there's anything wrong with the major label music machine. I remember standing outside of TRL with, you know, NSYNC and Britney written all over my face, crying. Because if I could see her hand, you know what I mean? That, you can't buy that. It is so intense to be a super fan. I mean, granted, I was the same way at the Neil Young concert, you know what I mean? But it's like, I feel that it's been lost a little bit. I don't know if artists are lazy and they don't care about how they dress or what it is, or if it's you can't download a lifestyle. You can't download an icon. You have to touch them. You have to figure, what do they eat? How do they sleep? Do they sleep like this? Are they on their side? Are they on their back? Does she sleep in sequin panties upside down with someone like, you know, fanning her with a bow? I mean, I don't know, but it's a fantasy, and it's really beautiful and really special. For me, it's like my Michelangelo painting. It's like I wanna create that again. If anything, the fame and this record and my music is about recreating the pop star and giving it back. Well, my live show is like a musical. There's dancing, I sing live, but with the track, so it sounds like a lot like the record. I spin with a DJ. We're working with Space Cowboy right now, who's amazing. And it's like a variety show. I mean, the dance style is not hip-hop. It's, you know, like late 70s jazz. It's got a little Fosse in it. It's got a little, I don't know what. I work with Lorianne Gibson. You guys know her from Bad Boy, Making the Band. Well, you might know her from everything because she's pretty much legendary. But working with her has been incredible, molding the show, because I remember when I first met her, I walked in, my hair was black. I had on see-through leopard tights with a thong and like some ridiculous jacket and these huge Elton John sunglasses. And I was like, hi, Lorianne, like the nerdiest chick ever. And she looked at me and she was like, hello, Muffin. Like, oh my God, who's this girl? And then I played her my record and she goes, oh, really? That's what she said. Oh, really? And the show is really, it's intended to give you a stomach ache. I'm not trying to like just entertain anybody. I really want to bother everybody. I want everyone to go like a little bit like, oh my God, what is she doing? Ew, what's going on? But the records are pop. It's a pop record. it's a pop show, but the visuals and the ideas and the fashion is really forward thinking. It's completely 150,000% my own. Everything that you see, the disco bra in the video, I made it. The disco bra on stage, I made it. The corset, the chains, it's like everything's been put together so strategically. And if it's not, I'll like have anxiety about it. We'll go on stage because it's got to be perfect. It's got to be exactly me.